happy new week. I'm excited to be back for 2023. I know some of you have been waiting for my author interviews to restart for the new year, and I'm excited to do that as well. I actually got the week wrong and I contacted Trish last week confirming today, but I was 1 week out. So good morning, Trish. I'm so excited to be interviewing you as my first author for the year. How are you, and how's the weather up in Queensland?
It is thick and really humid. It's really gross at the moment. We're having a bit of a heat wave, so it's not very pleasant. But I'm excited and looking forward to our chat today.
I love it. Now, let Trish share a little bit of a trigger warning, guys, before we get into it, because some of you may have seen the title of the live and you're kind of going, what are you going to talk about here? So please do that and then I'll introduce you properly.
Yeah, I just we will be discussing issues of rape and sexual violence, and it can be something that's hard to hear and possibly triggering for some people. So just please, if you do have trouble listening to this or it triggers something in you, please reach out for help. And there's always help out there. Lifeline is a great initial point of contact. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll introduce you guys who Trish is, and we'll share also about her book, and you can see it already behind her. Just got a copy there of it as well, and we'll talk about that. But Trish Wyatt is an experienced social worker turned author and activist. She's passionate about raising awareness of sexual violence and our archaic justice system, where it is almost impossible to convict dangerous sex offenders and where victims of sexual crimes experience further trauma. Trish provides a raw and very personal insight into her lived experience after surviving an extremely violent and life-threatening rape and assault in regional Queensland in 2018. The assault itself was disturbing and shocking, but what followed from the moment she tried to report the crimes and the more than 3 years wait for the trial beggars belief. So horrendous was her post-crime experience that her genuine advice to survivors is not to report rape. All right, so that's a big statement. So how long had you been thinking about now putting your story into a book or the advice that you want to share with people? And let's get into why, because people are probably curious.
Yeah, so it felt, for me, it felt like a very quick decision. But in hindsight, the 3 years leading up to trial, I had great support from women around me, and there were lots of little comments from them saying, you need to write about this, you need to share this, take notes. And then I guess the defining moment was the, I have to be very open and transparent about my case, and the perpetrator was found not guilty on all charges. And that was the defining moment for me, because I couldn't understand how we even got that outcome. And it was like, I personally needed to understand how this happened. And that's where writing the book came into it for me, because the book was my way of writing down, seeing it written, going through the court transcripts and finding out exactly what happened and how it happened the way that it did. So when I read the court transcripts for the first time, that was me writing the book. Like I never even got to read through the transcripts before writing the book. Like it was a bit of I'm getting the court transcripts and I'm just going to write as I go, so that it's as raw and it's in the moment of me trying to put together how it happened, like the way that it did.
Amazing. And so what's the intention? You're making a quite bold statement. What was your experience? And just tell us a bit about your story. And everyone will have an opinion or a side they want to take and all that kind of stuff. And this is what book writing is about us sharing what we believe and value or in the world. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So the intention is to pretty much expose the justice system for what it is. I don't believe it's a justice system at all. I believe that there's so much red tape, there's so much wrong with the system. So my hope is to educate people on what it's actually like. A lot of people think oh, it must be awful to go through court for that type of thing. And I think a lot of people have a general understanding that it's probably a tough thing to go through, but it's so much worse than that. It's so much worse than that. And right from the moment of me trying to report the crimes, walking into our police station and trying to report the crimes, it was barrier after barrier. And just the conviction rate alone, like Queensland has just a 3% conviction rate for rape. And I just find that so disturbing. And I don't even understand how that is okay with our society. And I think it's because our society doesn't know that. They don't know that it's that difficult to hold someone accountable for such a violent crime and life-threatening. Like I truly thought that I wasn't going to survive that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, and you don't know until you're in it, right? Or until it's happening as to what are, all the steps you got to go through. And you have obviously all the steps now and didn't have the outcome that, which, as you say, most won't get the outcome that they thought they would. So what are the alternatives? Like, what's the advice, maybe some of the pointers that you're sharing throughout the book about?
So the way I wrote the book was, so I tell the story from the beginning, and where I find that there's an injustice or where I find that something was done wrong, I put in my recommendation on how I think it could be done better, or how we can protect survivors more, or how we can hold offenders accountable more. So as I go along, so I feel like I'm in a bit of a unique position because of my profession as a social worker. It's like I'm on the other side of the table now. I was the professional, I was the go-to person. I'd tell you how to get through these traumatic things. I've worked with really vulnerable people, and abuse and neglect and mental health and drug and alcohol problems. So I feel like I've got a good understanding of what it's like for people to go through these sorts of things. But now I've gone through it myself. Now it's me that's the victim, it's me that's the survivor. So with my knowledge of my profession, together with my own personal experience, I feel that I can help articulate, what the problems are and how bad it is, because people need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book is the first step. What are some of the other things that, obviously this interview is another step of sharing the message and bringing awareness. What are some other things that you're hoping to do?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out. So a lot of people, it's a really isolating and lonely experience with sexual violence. It's something that's really hard to talk about. It's something that people don't like to talk about. It's uncomfortable. But it's so rampant in our society. Like when we look at the statistics that, 1 in 3 women, like you just need to think about the women in your own family or your own friend circle. Like there's women there who have been assaulted and who have experienced similar things, yet the shame and the we don't talk about that sort of business keeps it hidden, and it just builds up. It's not good for anybody to carry that sort of trauma. Or so I really hope to help survivors, let people know they're not alone, and explain a lot of the problems in the system, with the ultimate hope. Like my ultimate aim is to change laws, and that's what I'm aiming for. I don't want my children or my grandchildren to have to go through what I went through. We deserve better, and our future generations deserve better.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We've got a couple of comments. I'll read them out. From Husanti says, I feel for you, Trish. I have had similar experiences in the justice system. All credit to you for writing this book. And Muriel says, the justice system has never been right or fair for many reasons, and unfortunately it's the same overseas. Thank you for sharing. So people have gone through like experiences. That it takes a number of people to make a shift and kind of speak up, and writing a book is one of those powerful ways to do that, because you're putting yourself out there. I mean, were you fearful about how this would be received? Like, maybe talk to me a little bit about, it's quite a controversial title and all that kind of stuff. So I want to know, because a lot of our authors, not even with the controversial title, they're fearful of taking the step into writing what they believe.
Absolutely petrifying. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely, for a number of reasons. So one, with the title, I did really want to draw attention to it. I wanted something for people to go, what? My gosh, how is that someone's advice? I want them to think to themselves, what on earth has this woman been through for that to be her advice? I feel like we go to so many marches and Me Too movements and enough is enough and inquiry after inquiry. This has been going on for decades, yet there's been such little change. So I did feel I needed something really powerful or controversial, and that's why I did. And that is my honest advice. Like, that is the way that it is right now. Don't do it. It's not worth it. And it has to change. And so I was, I worried about the criticism of the title, like, oh, how could you give that advice? And that's not, I certainly worried about that. But on the same note, anyone that reads the book will know why I titled it that, and they will understand why that's my title. So I feel like that explains itself in my book. But I was also worried about, legal ramifications. And this man was found innocent. He was found not guilty. And I also had to be careful about de-identifying him and protecting his privacy, because I would, I could have left myself open to legal problems. So there was a lot of risk on my part, but it's all worth it in my mind, because the message is too important.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do it the right way and you protect and you say that it's coming from your standpoint and all that kind of stuff, you can put your viewpoint forward. And we've worked with many books, very sensitive topics, in all sorts of traumatic situations. So yeah, you've done an amazing job. I'm super proud of, being brave to talk about something that's so controversial. And you're absolutely right. We want people to be curious and go, why is she saying that? And then to actually understand what it is. So yeah, at what point, like, who is the ideal reader for this? Is it someone who's been through this experience, or even a warning for people? Who is it?
I think there's two ends of it. Like, there's the supporting survivors, the people who may never have told a soul in their whole life about a similar experience. So there's definitely that audience that would find comfort and maybe strength even from it. But ideally, I want to reach the people who have no idea about our justice system, and I want to reach politicians and lawmakers and people who have the power to make change, or people who are probably people who have no idea about it, because when you don't know, right? So if now you know that this is really how it is, and this is a real true story on how it is, if you're in a position of power, are you obligated then to, stand with the cause and try to, I'm sure people in power have daughters and granddaughters and wives and sisters and mothers. Like, we can't keep ignoring this. Yeah,
absolutely. How was the writing process? What did you, you said you started writing it as you were going through the transcripts.
Yeah.
How did you, tell me your strategy, because you worked with us as a publishing only author, didn't go through, say, the retreat program and all that, which is super proud, even more proud, because it takes a lot of discipline when you don't have more of that hand holding. But yeah, you came through. So how long did it take to write in your own time? What were some of the strategies that you used to make sure you stick it out to the end?
Yeah, I can't remember exact timeline. You might be able to help me out with that. Was it 6 months, I think, from the time that I was on the phone call to the time, I can't remember. It was a few months. Yes. But the process I found just really cool, like really amazing and a little bit magical, because I'm not a writer by any shape of the, absolutely not a writer. And my spelling's terrible, but when I sat in front of the computer and I had the manuscripts it truly just felt like it flowed through me. Like there's a feeling that I get when I'm writing and when it's flowing and it's just coming through. And when that's happening, I just run with it and I do it as long as that lasts. If it's starting to not flow or I'm getting frustrated, or I'll just close it up, walk away and wait until I'm in that space again, because it's a feeling in my body that what's coming out is right. It's perfect and it's easy. It just flowed, and that's the feeling that I would look for when I was writing.
Nice. So all up from starting to write to holding the book in hand, do you think it was like about 6 months?
Yeah, maybe 7.
Did you start writing when you committed? I can't remember the timeline of because I believe you spoke to Stuart possibly.
Yeah, very early on, yes.
Which he onboarded you, I think, and so you started writing when you committed to the package, or a little bit before?
No, I think it was when I committed to the package.
Right. So yeah, I often say to people, like, they go, "Oh, go off and do some writing, and then I'll come back and work with you guys." But
Yeah.
I'm always curious, when the writing started, and 9 out of 10 times it's always when I made the commitment, there was skin in the game. I knew I said I was going to do this. And you guys were waiting for a manuscript. The manuscript got put together and written. There's a comment from Lenine saying, "Thank you so much for writing this. I'm going to read it. As a rape survivor too, I understand exactly what you're saying. The justice system here in New Zealand is the same. I kept this a secret for over 20 years. So yeah, by you speaking up, you're going to give courage for other people to sort of speak up and, kind of resonate with what, you're saying, and make it not such a taboo topic to bring up.
And take the shame away. There should be no shame. Like, we are victims of something that was really violent that happened to us, yet we carry the shame and embarrassment for it, and it's not okay.
So where to from here? Will you obviously network and do some speaking on this particular topic? What are kind of the next steps? Because I always say your book is kind of your platform to make a change in a particular way. What do you hope to do this year in 2023?
Yeah, I'm not too sure how it's going to pan out, but I'm still pushing my message. I'm still sharing the book, trying to do interviews where I can. I've reached out to some media. We had a wonderful book launch. Our book launch drew in over, I think, 150 people. Wow. The shop that we held it in, it was a little bookshop. They actually had to shut down service. They couldn't even serve customers. Like, we got a really great turnout for the book launch. And I've had lots of positive feedback from our local member of parliament as well. He's read the book, which that was really daunting as well, because I'm thinking, oh my God, because, you're kind of criticising the government, I guess. It's a government-run justice system. So he was very impressed with the book, and he spoke at the book launch as well, and identified, supported all the change that needs to occur. So I'm just hoping to continue to build that momentum. I'd love to meet with government officials, or I have sent a copy to the Attorney General, Shannon Fentiman. I'm not sure if she's read it yet, but I just want to spread the message, and I want to talk, and I want to ultimately make change. And also, I'm thinking of creating some sort of support group too, because a lot of people are reaching out that have never spoken to anybody, and it's just really comforting to have that support. So I'm looking into that as well.
Well, being a social worker as well, you're in that place where you can be a nurturer and someone who supports others people. And if we can have a community, then in numbers, there's power in numbers.
Absolutely.
A change, and other people, a very brave project. You'll be helping so many. Another comment there from one of our USA.
Awesome.
And all that sort of stuff. So people all over the world will also hear about this, even though, probably the only change we could make is within our own country, but that's a pretty good start.
But the issues are worldwide too. So, everyone around the world can relate.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things I just love is, I think media would be a very powerful platform to get featured in on radio and other programs, and kind of go with that leveraging strategy to share the message wider. If I was to give you some advice behind, now that we've got the book, because it's not like you are going to coach or consult or help people around this. It's more about making that change at the government level almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say publicity is one of the things that are definitely going to be a way. And I think it's quite shocking, as you say, and they're going to want to know, well, why is she saying what she's saying. Let's talk a little bit about how was the support, how was it actually going through editing and layout and book cover design. Talk to me about why you chose, like, obviously we can make the picture, that's not you on the cover, is it?
No, it's not me. A lot of people ask me.
Doesn't
Yeah,
it look so similar? Yeah.
maybe quite a bit younger, but no, it's definitely not me. But yeah, I just had this image in my mind with the book cover. And I just started Googling some images, and I sent a few different ones through to the designers, and I like the idea of the red cross on the mouth. Yeah. And yeah, they sent through a number of different versions, which was great because, and even the location of the name and the title and the font, there's all these, different ways that it can look.
I'll show a little bit clearer picture here on the share screen, so people can see it even, more crisper. So yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And
the colour teal, that's the official colour for sexual violence. So that was important for me to have a teal, the colour be what it is.
Yeah, beautiful. And the tagline, find out why this is the advice from a survivor of an extremely violent and life-threatening sexual assault and rape in 2018.
Yeah.
Victoria, so that you've got a little bit of a explanation about why you've said that. And yeah, and there's a picture of you right there on the back of the cover.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a very striking cover, and kind of speaks, a picture can tell a thousand words. How was now that we don't worry about spelling all day because we've got editors, but how did you find navigating like the feedback and going through each of the steps?
The process is so easy, and you can tell that like you've put in so much work to make it easy for authors and non-writers, to understand and to follow. You've always got a little YouTube clip. I've watched so many little, how do we do this? And how do we open this file? And there's always instructions. There's always video clips. So, and the turnaround, everyone's very upfront with, so you submit your manuscript, and then you get told, that's with an editor. This is your editor. They're planning to have that back to you by this date, so you can manage expectations, because it's very daunting, particularly that very first time you send that manuscript out. I was like handing over a piece of my soul. It was like, oh my God, it's so nerve-wracking. You just don't know how it's going to be perceived, or if it's any good, or you got all these doubts. And the feedback is was always really constructive and positive. And I just found the process very easy, and the support was very personal, and really great.
I love that. I love hearing that. And also, like, we learn from you guys. The minute you hit road bumps, or there's lots of questions around a particular area, we build a system or a video around it to make sure. And obviously refining it over years, you get it close to perfection. Nothing's ever perfect, but we love the fact that you guys can introduce yourself to the editor, tell them a little bit about what it is, what the intention is, and then vice versa. They can talk and give you feedback, and it's an encouraging process, but also very daunting when you're doing it for the very first time. You're only taking the steps for the very first time. You don't know what's coming next, just around the corner, and all that sort of stuff. So let's tell people where they can buy the book. I did go out stalking your beautiful website, so I might just share that. Here's Trish's website, guys. So it's just her name, trishwyatt.com.au. So spelled TRISHWYATT. and you've got a few little pages people can look through, and then order the copy there, and there's a little video and all those bits and pieces. So is that the kind of best place for people to go ahead and get a copy?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. And also the book is available, it's distributed internationally. So if you prefer to go get it from Amazon or Barnes and Noble or your good online resellers, you'll all you need to put in just is a title and probably pop up. And I went and checked, and it's all over the place to make sure everything was there. So, and leave her a review if you are going to buy from a different website. Once you've bought something and you've read it, leave a review there, as well as I'm sure Trish would love a testimonial, via email. And then I saw you had a few there on your website to, what people have thought about when reading the book. So will there be more books in the future? I'm curious. Now the first one's out the way. What are your thoughts? Or is this just kind of like a one-off thing that this is going to be the thing you're going to move forward?
I really like writing. I like the experience. I did really like it. So I'm not sure. It's possible.
Yeah. I often say give it about 12 to 18 months after the first book comes out, and your brain starts then tick over, or you learn more. And you experience more. It may be like that whole 12 months after this book has come out, and all the lessons from what people have said and how and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it becomes very obvious what the next book would be. I often, that's how I ended up with 14 books in the last 13 years, is that you don't think you're going to do it. It's like having a baby, like, you don't want to go back for it again, and then you trick yourself and you go back and do it again and again. Writing books is a little bit like that, but it's also very therapeutic and enjoyable. So did you find also the journey a bit healing for you to put it all down on paper yourself?
Oh, absolutely. But also really important to be supported psychologically at the same time, because you are going over it so many times too. And by the end of it, I had to say, I think I still had to do another final read. I think I had to get my first print copy and do another read. And I had to say, I just don't think I can read it again. I've read it so many times. How it is just going to have to be how it is. I just can't. I can't do it again. But yeah, definitely having that. If you are writing about something very personal and traumatic, then just make sure you've got your supports and your self-care in place, because it's challenging. It's hard.
Oh, you're reliving it. I mean, it's like they say, if you want to feel happy, go back to a place and think about this, what happened. And so when you're writing a book, you're going back to a place that's, if you want to feel sad, go read your book. It's not a good anchor. And the fact of writing a book, you got to go through it multiple times. So I don't blame you. Often, even most of my books don't have something like what you have, but I got sick of reading them, to be honest. It's like often authors go, oh, but my book's shit because they've read it too many times. And I go, no, it's not. It's just that you've read it so many times. And if you're not sick of your own content by the time you've released it, you probably haven't gone through it enough times. And I say you're in the right place. Everyone else is going to think it's awesome and amazing. And who cares if there's a couple of imperfections?
Exactly. Yeah.
What are you telling people? If we're setting a standard that's unachievable, then most people won't even take the journey.
Yeah. And it's great to encourage everyday people to write, because anyone can do it. Anyone can write.
Anyone, yeah. You can speak, you can write, even English doesn't have to be your first language. We've proven that many times over, and yeah, it's very. What did you do? Final question. I know we're running out of time. What did you do when you got into those emotional states? Because I have a lot of authors who do write very traumatic stories, or whether it's loss of life of a really close family member, child, or other types of abuse. And I know they'll come sometimes to some sessions with their tears, their eyes are really red and all that. Yeah. What was your strategy when you kind of started to go down that?
For me, because I did see this as an opportunity to heal at the same time, it was really important for me to acknowledge those moments and take time in those moments. If I was, because you're recalling your memories too, like you're going back there, you're putting yourself back there.
Exactly,
And it was really important for me to process, to feel, release. I might just, you know, close the computer up and have a cry for a bit, or do some journaling, or you know, ring and chat to somebody, a friend or some sort of support. You know, self-care, go make myself a cup of tea. But the big thing is acknowledging what was coming up and not just stuffing it down and saying, I need to write this book and I just need to get through it. That wasn't, it was, the book's on hold now. I'm addressing what's coming up for me now. I'm acknowledging, feeling and releasing everything. And then when I felt ready to go again, then I went back to it again.
Those are some great tips, you know, because I'm sure a lot of wannabe authors and authors that are currently going through the midst of their journeys are going to have similar challenges. So those are really great tips for them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super proud of what you've achieved. I can't wait to see where this is. Maybe we'll reconvene for another interview in like 6 to 12 months time and see kind of the impact that this is making. And I'm so grateful that you're doing it because I can only help so many people, but I love when you guys have different messages and are either working and helping others achieve a specific goal or make this change. I feel like there's a little ripple that I was responsible for in this as well. So
absolutely, if I hadn't come across you guys, then, you know, the book probably wouldn't be here. So
yeah,
you know, it all happened for a reason.
Exactly. And yeah, I wish you every success with it. And you know, anyone, if you want to go get that book, trishwyatt.com.au, or just look it up online, you'll find it. It's all over the place. And have an amazing week ahead. And as I like to always finish off, guys, go and smash out the rest of the week. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.